Welcome everyone to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and Lord Kiro. And we talk about TV shows here. The year is 2021, and the name of the show is Babylon 5. This is season 2, episodes 8. I'm struggling. Like, Tara couldn't be louder putting that photo down if she tried.
I'm sure it wasn't that bad.
Welcome everyone. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. Chekhov, Bester himself, is back in this episode. Not only is this the third episode in a row with Talia, heavily featuring, this was a huge plot developments and huge character developments for Talia, I thought, in this episode. Plus, we pay off some setup that I didn't even realize was set up for things from last season. And we also had a lot of talk about Ironheart again, which is a nice callback. Plus, there's kind of a nice little subplot with Sheridan and Delenn.
I know. I think maybe I'm right.
Having a hot date.
I told you there was like pan flutes or something when she came out of that cocoon.
All right, there's chemistry. Do you know what? It's conflicting for him because he... we were introduced to him and he's kind of like, he's in the war with them in Barry. He really hates them in Barry. And now he's
hate him.
And now he's conflicted because he wants to sleep with the enemy. And he didn't see that coming.
She's got a uterus now.
You don't need a uterus to do that.
No, I mean, I guess that's true. But I mean, she has cramps, so I assume maybe she has a human vagina. Maybe she always did. I don't know.
Hey, interspecies sex has not been a faux pas on this show, okay? We've had Londo liking Earth chicks, we've had Jakar definitely liking Earth chicks, and Centauri chicks. Like, there's been a lot of cross-pollination, as long as there's, a vaguely sticky outy bit and a vaguely hole-shaped bit, I think they're fine. They can get it done. That may be the most gruesome sentence I've ever said on these reviews. Oh dear. So, apologies for that, everyone.
It was pretty gross.
Yeah, I'll mute Tara's noisy photo putting back down. I'm not muting myself during that bit though. It's too good. It's gold. People will remember that. They'll remember where they were when they heard.
No, don't say it again.
My definition of interspecies relations. So yeah, a lot of big stuff in this episode. Bester is coming to Babylon 5 because we cut to him and he's interrogating someone because he knows there's an underground real network essentially of like basically trying to free telepaths who do not want to go to Psychor. And he's basically torturing this guy. He's trying to like get him to think about it. And what I loved about this scene is that the guy who's being tortured is like singing to himself so he doesn't think about the answers that he wants. I thought that was a neat touch.
He needs an earworm.
Yeah, he's trying to keep his mind off of it. But Bester gets it just before he dies. Babylon 5, so that brings him into the show. And that's not even just like, I'm not gonna lie, there was I realized that after the previous thing it's going to sound like I've just got dirty stuff on the mind, but there's a moment here after he, like, when the guy dies, right before he says he got it, there's a moment where he kind of like he sort of clasped his hand and he does this for like a good 5 seconds, and I'm like, Bester, you're doing the wanking like hand sign. Like, what are you doing? Stop it. Like, if you gift just that moment, it would look like that.
I thought it was so silly that he caught a thought, like, physically.
I mean, that was silly, but his hand kind of did a jerking motion for like a good, enough jerks that it looked like he was doing that, okay? That's all I'm saying.
I thought he was like seeing if he can hear it rattling around like a Christmas gift.
And not even just that, because he opens his hand after, he sort of does this, right, for a couple of seconds, and then he goes,
okay,
oh. Yeah. And then he goes, his hand opens, it's like, all right, Chekhov.
That wasn't the same woman as the last episode, right? Or the 2 episodes before? No,
this was just a random Psychor lady.
Okay.
This was not.
I think she had the same haircut.
Similar haircut, but that was it wasn't the leader of Bureau 13. So, yes. But Bester comes to the station and he wants cooperation. And one of the things I love about this show is it's adherence to its own continuity, because I hate when shows don't adhere to their continuity and seem to forget things. So I love that you know, after Sheridan meets with him, I love that Ivana was like, hey, you should probably read the files of what happened last year, because there was a whole thing with Ironheart, and Bester was kind of a dickhead. You should probably know what you're getting into with this. So I appreciated that. I appreciated that he has, you know, Sheridan assumes that Ivanov is like the person on the inside, like, you know, high up in the station who's helping this, like, this network of like getting people away from the telepath community. Because of how she feels.
Garibaldi suspects her, yeah.
It's Garibaldi, yeah. Where he goes to her, he's really casual about it. He's like, hey, like, just fess up. Tell me where I can find this network. And she's like, how dare you? Look, seriously, it's not me, right? I know I've got some history, but it's not me.
I'm too drunk to do that.
Oh yeah, apparently if an officer comes into the this bar and like tries to talk about business, that they have to buy everyone a drink, because this is a no business talk zone. The little things.
Yep.
But of course there is, and this also tied in there because the I guess the leader, you know, the guy who's kind of the leader of the group in the kind of the slummy area of the ship. We met him before, just a few episodes ago. Remember when they were searching around and I can't remember what episode it was, but someone went to talk to him. I think it was Garibaldi when he was looking for a murder or something like that. But we met him before. I remember seeing him.
I don't remember. No.
Oh no, we did. And one of the things that I also liked is that later on when we find out Franklin is the one who's helping this underground thing, he mentions that part of this is that he set up like a medical like treatment center in the lower decks, and I went, oh, that's tying into that episode where we saw him do that. And that wasn't that, I mean, at the time that didn't feel like it was a setup for something, but when he said it here, I was like, oh, that's actually kind of neat that this ties into that, and whatever. So Franklin gained some points this episode, although there is one dodgy line where he says he got an extra bed for medical purposes, which I thought was a bit suspicious. Like, why does he need an extra bed for medical purposes in his own quarters? Like, who's he bringing back there? Well, we know who he's bringing back there. We saw it. But...
ladies who faint.
But that stuck out to me. It stuck out to me. So... yeah, so obviously Talia heavily features in all this. We hear a lot more of the horror stories. Obviously, we heard Ivanova's story about her mother, but here we get to hear more stories. I think the one that stuck out the most was because we'd heard about the forced well, it's forced in this one. What we hear,
it's like arranged marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
The last episode we heard about the arranged kind of like trying to have Talia and the dude from Angel, Stoner,
which I think makes sense that we would watch it in this order then and not the reverse order. You know? That we would get the detail that there's some arranged coupling going on in Psychor, and that Talia would like bring up casually, and then in this episode we get like the darker version of that.
Yeah, so you think this is the right way around to do it?
Right. Yeah, this is the right way to watch it.
Yeah.
Not the way that HBO is.
No, I would agree. I like that was brought up, and like you say, yeah, this gets darker. It's like, because this woman's like, she said, no, I don't want to marry this other guy, because she's so we'll learn more about the rankings. Like, she's a Psi 12, which is apparently the highest, or maybe it's 11, but either way, it's the highest you can be without becoming a Psychop, which is what Bester is. So, because we know Talia is only a 5. Well, she was a 5. Obviously, Ironheart upgraded her. She got some firmware upgrades, as it were. But now she tells this horrible story about how she refused. She didn't want to marry this random guy because he just happened to be compatible, and she had like weird nightmares. Presumably, she was being like subdued psychically by other telepaths, and then woke up, and a few weeks later, she was pregnant. And so, which is extremely dark. We also hear they've basically got concentration camps for people who refuse. Option 1 or 2, which we know was either join Psych or take the pills. Yeah,
to suppress, which have a ton of side effects,
including depression,
suicide,
and death, and yes. So, like, they've always came across as really dark, and this episode is very much about Talia kind of crossing this line.
Well, she also said she never saw her baby again after that. Like, they took her baby.
Oh yeah, that's this woman who's telling the story, yeah. But I was going to say that for Talia, this episode is, because it literally ends with the shot of her taking off her Psychor pin, and sort of, even though she's going to put it back on to keep up appearances, I assume, it is symbolic at the end of the episode. This is the episode where she learns how bad they really are, and in fact, even the fact that it ends with her coming to Ivanova and saying, you know what? Every argument we ever had about Psychor, I'm going to fess up, you were right. Like, I defended them. because that was our introduction to all of these ideas, was their conversations early season 1. So her coming to have a drink with her and say, hey, can I like fess up and like tell you everything, because you know, like, you're the one who'll understand what I'm going to say to you, you're the one who's going to believe me, and all these things. So I thought that was, again, a really neat kind of just content, but not just continuity in the sense of there was a callback to something that happened. It was like, no, like, it's using the history to inform the decisions the characters make now, which is what, to me, is what makes it really good writing. So I really appreciate that. And obviously there's the actual investigation and Bester and how they trick him and all that to get into. And the powers that Talia may also have on top of, I mean, she's not just moving coins, she like wedges it into the wall like a bullet. Like she could kill someone with this coin if she wanted to.
That's true. That's like the opening shot of her, I think, when she's thinking about Ironheart anyway.
Yeah, because we actually get some like quick flashbacks to Ironheart. His final moments, and he's like transcendence is the word I was going for there. To
Ascension
and transcendence. I mixed them together. Transcension. Honestly, I think that's a great new word that I think people should use. I think it's got a ring to it.
Transcension.
Yes. Because at first it's like, okay, these guys are villainous. There's this group of like underground characters, and everyone like is sympathetic. Sheridan, Garibaldi, they're all kind of like, yeah, we're kind of on their side, but this is the law. We kind of have to go through the book and sort of do what we're supposed to do. And I love that there's like an assassination attempt of Bester by all these other telepaths, like these rogue telepaths, and the idea being that he might sense us coming. Like, we have to kind of try and do this as subtly and as sneakily as possible, because if he suspects a thing, like, he's going to start listening. And there's a couple of moments in the episode where he randomly hears someone go, kill him, or, murder, or hate you, Bester, or...
The stuff I really liked in this episode actually was the admission. I think it's like Garibaldi and Sheridan are sort of talking about how when telepaths first started showing up, people didn't know what to do with them because they were afraid of them. So they sort of like created this place where telepaths could go to, learn how to deal with it. And like, it's like Xavier's school or whatever for New Mutants. But then, they sort of just, because they gave him a place to go, they sort of became too powerful, and now they're not in their control anymore.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot too. I'm glad you brought that up, because I may not have mentioned that. I think, obviously the difference between this and Xavier School for the Gifted, which I think is an apt comparison to a point, is that Xavier School for the Gifted is started by a mutant who wants to give a place for people to grow and feel safe. Psychor, from the get-go, it sounds like, no, it was created by regular humans as a way to control telepaths, and now telepaths who are there, who believe in it, have become so dangerous and so powerful to everyone else. And it's funny that the renegades, the runaways who are like avoiding it, are the ones that might actually be the best allies, like in the coming fights, in the coming war. Like, because I don't know if it'll factor in, as one-to-one to this, but if the Psychor are mostly going to be in the side of evil in this coming war, this episode gave us an army of telepaths that might actually be allies. All these people who are on the run, who are whatever. Like, that's a really neat concept from a mythology point of view. And I was like, it's amazing how many plates at this point now we're season and a chunk in, like how many plates are spinning that are all kind of seamlessly
you're right,
operating together. Which is neat. Who knows? Maybe telepaths are going to be the key to like fighting the shadows. Maybe that's the weakness they'll have, is that they don't have a telepath thing. Kind of like the Narn don't have telepaths, or if there is indeed a secret weapon.
It could be.
So I don't know. But neat.
Talia could end up being the big like Captain Marvel of the series.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that she speculates anyway. She's not sure, but she thinks that the reason why Bester doesn't read any of her thoughts is that she might actually have the ability to block him now, which is an upgrade.
And we sort of get a glimpse of like, it could just be that her abilities are changing to where they're not the same as what Bester has, because Bester can hear people plotting his murder, and we hear people like murder in the background, but when Talia does it, she just hears like just white noise, just nothing, no passion or anything like that. So Bester still seems to have something over her ability wise, because we get to hear it. We get to hear what they're both hearing.
Yeah, I think it's maybe a case of like she still. I think she clearly still has a regular whatever ability she had before, but her new abilities aren't just it's turned up to 11. It's like specific new enhancements rather than but they do make a point of her being powerful though, because later on, like their whole thing to beat Best, because Sheridan comes down, meets Franklin, and realizes, wait, you're the leader of this, you're the one who's been running this, meets the people
you're the Harriet Tubman.
Here's the stories from the various people that are all very dark and really sad, and Talia is completely on their side. And he's like, well, look, I sympathize with all this. Like, I agree with everything you're doing in principle, but ultimately, I'm the captain of this station. I have to kind of do this by the book. We can't just sweep this under the rug. How do we deal with this? And ultimately, how they do it. And, it's not a huge surprise. Like, I think it's quite clear what's happening in the scene when it starts to, like, go action-y. But basically, Besta comes in, and all the telepaths, because we know that they all wear the gloves, right? All the Psycho Ops wear the gloves. And part of that is because they, at least I don't know if this is the only reason, but like Talia and all these other telepaths hold their hands, the idea being they can kind of combine their strength telepathically to take on Bester. And then it takes a turn where it gets really silly almost, because Talia's got like a phaser and she's starting to shoot people.
I know, like I was confused why Bester never brought that up. Like, where did you get your gun from?
Yeah, and Bester and they kill all of them, and I'm like, and I don't think it's like something that's meant to be a secret. I think you're meant to kind of get that. No, this is what they're putting in his head. This is their trick, because they're making him think this is what's happened. So he thinks they're all dead and he's going to leave, and sure enough, once he does leave, we cut back to them and they're still standing there holding hands. This was all, and just in case you didn't get it, Sheridan comes out and asks all the questions so the audience gets explained to them. Just in case.
Totally unnecessary.
Yes, it was pretty obvious, but I appreciate it. I think the reason why I don't mind it too much that he does ask the questions that I don't think need to be asked is that at least it makes sense for the character to ask them. Because sometimes this is like really forceful. Why would the character be asking that? At least here,
but they still were like, "Well, what did you see?" And then he had to explain what he saw.
Yeah.
It was a bit long.
They really wanted to make sure people got it, right? I think that was the thing, but. Minor quibble in the grand scheme of things, but so yeah, because even at the end when Talia's seen him off, because they make a point of saying to Sheridan, like, you can't see Bester again because there's no way you can hide what you know from him if he suspects, if he thinks that he should read you, it's over. Like, he'll find out everything. So Talia's kind of on edge when she's saying bye to him. Like, there's a moment of tension where, and he does kind of turn around and look at her, and I kind of read this moment as the reason why he's turning around and looking at her is because he tried to read her and he can't, and that's why he's turning and looking at her all suspicious. He's like, that's weird. It's like, why can't I read her?
Well, yeah, she says earlier on in the episode that he's been in her mind twice already. Yeah, and he hasn't figured out that she's more powerful.
And
he should be.
And she also makes it clear that, because they have a discussion where she says, "Oh, you would never read me, right?" He's like, "No, I mean, the only way I can do that without you noticing is if it's just a surface level scan." So presumably he tries to do a proper scan at the end, maybe because he's just such a suspicious dick. But, and he clearly he's like, wait, why can't I do this? Like, he's disturbed by it. I think that's what I think is happening. That's why he looks back, I think.
Yeah, and she has a moment of, like, obviously she has her sigh of relief when he leaves, but she couldn't have that be like really tense in that moment because she knows that he's trying to scan her. Yeah,
I think what this episode is clearly saying to us is that she's not aware yet how powerful she is, because even the other telepath guy says to her, like, after, it's like, even all of us combined without you wouldn't have been able to trick him because he's so powerful. Like, you were the linchpin that, like, really gave us the the juice to.
Yeah, he really seemed to know a lot about her, about Ironheart and her.
Oh yeah, because he mentioned that they were both tested on at the same time. Like, he was like being tested on along with Ironheart. He mentions that in the episode, so that again, neat callback, I guess. But. So yeah, a lot of advancement. You have the cinematic kind of final moment of her taking off the pin, and the final shot is just a close up of the pin as her and Ivanova, which I guess neatly links us in because Ivanova really wants to go to bed because she couldn't sleep in her own bed the previous night. Fun little subplot here, and this is something where I don't necessarily think Sheridan's in the right. I don't think it's that big a deal, especially when 30 credits for rent doesn't sound that bad. But I mean, I don't know what the inflation's like here. but or what the currency's
I
value
have no
is.
idea how much credit is in this world.
Yeah, for all we know,
I think it's the principle apparently though.
For all we know, 30 credits is actually like, you know, $800 a week.
Yeah.
In comparison, but whatever. So yeah, basically there's a sort of jokey plot here where Earth Alliance has decided that, you know, space is a premium, and because Babylon 5's been not making money, that the quarters for the two highest officers, which is him and Ivanova, are too big. So they either have to move to smaller quarters so they can rent out their places, or they have to like sort of make up the difference by paying 30 credits in rent a week. And Sheridan, like, is so like are adamant.
Like, whoa.
He's like, no, we're going to go on strike. We're going to, you know what? Oh, they've locked us out of our rooms. Well, we're just going to go sleep in the office. Here, you can have the couch if I'll just sleep in my chair. We'll do this.
He's acting on behalf of both of them, but without Ivanova's permission to do so. She seems really like, this is not that big of a deal. We can handle this.
Ivanova's like, yeah, I was fine, just paying the 30 and getting.
And the smaller quarters are actually pretty nice.
Yeah, she seems like easy going with either paying the 30 or just having slightly a smaller room. She's fine with both. And Sheridan's like, no,
she doesn't want to cause trouble.
To hell with this. His solution is ultimately to just take it out of the budget for, like, you know, the military stuff, because they, you know, that's what they always like to fund. They always love to fund the military spending.
Yeah.
He's like, well, it's because we have to be battle ready. And she's like, on what grounds? Well, if I've not had sleep, then I'm not battle ready. Touché. I can't fault his logic. Not really.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
It's a funny little subplot. I mean, obviously, it's kind of there to dance around the other things. What I appreciate about it, I think, is that it gives like Sheridan kind of a through line before things get serious. And obviously, he has the Delenn stuff, which is kind of a weird narrative structure, in that it kind of just finishes halfway through the episode, which isn't really a quick complaint, because I don't think it needed any more. It didn't feel like it was lacking a payoff.
So.
Yeah,
it was very much like Delenn is confused about who she is now. She wants to get in touch with her human side, because she has that now, and so she wants to do things that humans do, and she sort of like asked him out on a date.
She got the basics from Ivanova. She got the hair and the cramps from Ivanova, how to deal with that.
Womanhood covered.
Yes. I almost like I mean, obviously, I think the implication is that she does have some sort of feelings for Sheridan, and that's why she would rather go to him now, like, now that the women stuff's out the way. But part of me does think it's funny that Ivanova is like Ivanova, that it's like, okay, I've learned everything that Ivanova can teach me about being a human. She's too stoic and like,
the rest is military. I already know how to do that. Yeah.
The rest is too Russian. I have to go and find someone like Sheridan. But no, I mean, joking aside, clearly there's like an attraction of some kind. The way they smell each other, when she shows up in the dress at the dinner.
Everybody's looking at her. She did look good.
Yeah.
It's a nice dress.
And, you know, they're kind of talking about, you know, who they are. They're telling jokes, like, because he's like, you know, I see you smiling a lot and laughing. And I just don't think of Minbari laughing. And she's like, no, we take like a year out to just go learn how to laugh. Like we really study the healing of laughter. And they kind of, you know, bond over it. And actually, at least one of the scene where him and Ivanova are trying to get to sleep in his office, he's telling
he's all giddy from his date.
Yeah. He's telling bad jokes. He's like, you know, knock knock, who's there? Kosh who? Bless you. It's a bad joke, it's a terrible joke, but
actually the first one made me laugh.
How many Minbari does it take to screw a light bulb? What was the punchline?
It was none, because they give up like right at the end or something. I can't remember
like
exactly,
the war,
but it was something like that.
They give up right before they're done and never explain why. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. That was a neat line. I got a giggle. Yeah.
He's just so happy. He's in a good mood. It was contagious, I guess.
There's a lot of little things I like about this episode. I love that there's a scene where Bester goes to Garibaldi, because Garibaldi, of course, is investigating where these underground, you know, this railroad of, you know, escapees are. And just the chemistry between Bester and Garibaldi, where Garibaldi's like, you know, I don't like you. You're a dick. You know, he doesn't say that, obviously, but that's his attitude the whole time. But he's still giving him all the information he's supposed to give him. There was just, like, it was just simple little things like Garibaldi doesn't even stand up for him. He just sort of stays slouched in his chair over by the computer. Just little things like that where, despite the fact that Bester was only in one episode last season, it still felt like there was all this history just from that one episode, which I think is a sign of really good economical like storytelling and character building, where we didn't have to have 8 episodes of him like really reiterating and repeating a lot of the things that he was doing or saying. He came back with just this one time, and all of a sudden the body language and the way he's speaking to Garibaldi and Ivanova in those scenes has this history to it, and you feel that in all of the scenes with them. So
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, even though Bester represents Psychor, and Psychor does not have a good track record on the show so far. Like, even when Bester isn't directly involved in the series, if there's a Psychor plot, it's usually evil, and and Garibaldi's in the front of that. So, like, he's got reason. Plus, he's friends with Ivanova, who has nothing but terrible things to say about Psychor. So, I think he has reason to be like, no, I don't like you. I don't like what you represent.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, Garibaldi, like, he does stick to his guns, when it comes to his morals. I mean, he's a bit hot-headed with certain things, of course, but I think the characters are very well defined in that, where, like, when Garibaldi like does something that's questionable, it's not questionable because it's out of character. You buy why he's making this shady decision in the moment. The same. That's what we talk about with Londo all the time. Is that he is like such a flawed character, but when he's like tempted by the power, it makes sense for his character. We know that he is like seduced by the dark side, effectively. So
yeah.
I think this is a really solid episode. I don't think it'll be remembered as like one of the greats, but I do think
it's pretty good though.
It's pretty good, but I do think it's like a really solid example of all the little things that are making Babylon 5 really good overall. Like, there's a lot of those little things in it. So cool. There you go.
Yeah.
Really good episode. So
pretty good.
Pretty good.
I'm sitting too low. That's better.
But now you look the same height as me. I had this height thing going before.
Yeah, plus I just have this blank background right now. It's too much white.
All right, well, there you go. That's Babylon 5. That is the race through the dark place, or a race through dark places, is the title. So really good little episode. The next one looks good, I'll say.
What does that mean?
It means the rating on IMDb is very high. So, okay. And also the word shadows is in the title, which can only mean good things on this show.
What's the title?
This is good, actually, just in case it's a different order on HBO Max and you make a boo-boo. Yeah. It's called The Coming of Shadows.
Ooh. Ominous.
Ominous. And it's got a 9.3, which is like one of the highest ratings
wow.
I've ever seen on IMDb.
That's that's like MASH Season 3 Abyssinia Henry episode rating. I think that one's rated 9.3.
Okay, that was a very obscure comparison to make, but I appreciate it.
I was just looking over the episodes.
It's like you're proving your nerd cred to all these people. Like, she's not a real nerd. She just name dropped a rating of a random episode of MASH Season 3.
Not a random one. The best episode.
All right. Out of all 11 seasons, the best one?
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Okay.
But Henry was my favorite character.
I have no reason to doubt it. So, there you go. That's episode. So I'm looking forward to next week's, and we'll be back for that. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. You can get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates. All those things really help us out a lot. They help share the channel out. They help the audience grow on the YouTubes. Tara's going to tell you all about Patreon.
That's right. If you enjoy our reviews, please check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MilesPlusTV. And if you donate as little as $1 per month, you will get access to bonus episodes of other shows we do, like the ACE, the Atomic Cinema Experiment. And if you donate $5 per month, you will get access to these Babylon 5 reviews 1 week early. So you can watch it earlier than everyone else and leave comments about things that we'll see earlier. So thank you. If you leave, because if you can leave comments earlier than people, you can comment on something before we review the next episode. Whereas if you wait for when they go public, it'll be 2 episodes before your comment has been read by us. That's why. Makes sense.
There was actually a really good point there at the end of that. It took a while to get there. There was a little bit of a dance.
I was wrong. Oh. Abyssinia Henry is rated 9.5.
Oh, la-di-da.
Yeah. Told you it was good.
Yeah. There you go. That's Babylon 5 for the week. So thank you once again for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the home world.